AES10B, first mag.
Good.
Hi, Misha here, and as I'm sure some know, I really like RPKs. And one of the best, most authentic RPKs available in the USA is the Romanian Cugir AES10B. In fact, this is one of the very few authentic imports, and really the only true RPK original pattern. Sure, you have the Russian Vepers from Molot, which are based on the RPKM or RPK74M. They're very similar, but they are newer styling. Most nations didn't produce the RPK, though, so what we have are limited. There's also the Bulgarian SA RPK, but somewhat ironically, it is not really an authentic RPK either. It's its own variant known as the LMG. Anyway, the AES10B, it's a good gun because Romania produced the PM64. And we've had two major variants come in of the AES10B, the side folder paratrooper model and the fixed stop model. And these are quite different from your standard Wasser. Wasser has a 16 1/4 barrel. AES10B has a 23 1/4, and it's a heavy profile. Obviously, it has the bipod. Mine here has the late Romanian adjustable. Because of the heavy barrel, you have a different handguard. You have a windage and elevation adjustable rear sight versus standard. Probably more importantly, you have a standard 1.0 mil receiver on the Wasser and standard front trunnion, whereas on the AES10B, you have the 1.5 mil and fat trunnion. And you have the heavy-duty top cover, although a good number of both Romanian RPK military guns and some autos did come with the ribbed top cover too. And all the AES10Bs have come with the scope rail. And these were all chambered for 7.62 by 39. So okay, we've talked about all this before. But have you ever wondered, well, there's an AES10B. Was there ever just an AES10A or just AES10? Why, yes. Yes, there was. Meet the original, the first. Just the plain old AES10. This is a very odd gun. And this is actually a gun I purchased brand new from Century. I think it was out of the SOG catalog back in 2005. So the year after the assault weapons ban sunset. And at that time, they were advertising this as an RPK. And honestly, we were just starved for AKs at that time. And so I bought it. Imagine my surprise when this came in. We do have the RPK so-called clubfoot buttstock. We do have the folding carry handle. And we do have a barrel about 23 inches long. We even have a bipod. But these things an RPK make do not. By the way, just so you know, the windage rear sight on this did not come with it. It actually came with the standard rear sight, but put on one from Arsenal just because. So the AES10B would soon replace it in Century's catalog, and it is an authentic RPK, except for, of course, select fire. But the AES10 only seems to have been available for one import batch in 2005. And this was a gun I bought new. Had it for a couple of years, and then I sold it off to a friend, and he suggested I do a video on it, so he brought it back over to let me borrow again. And with the interest in AKs now, I thought, yeah, it's kind of an interesting bit of history. So, it is threaded 14x1 left hand. When it came in, the muzzle nut was tack welded on, but that's easy enough to take off, and it was has the detent in the front sight. The barrel here on this one is the heavy. On this, it is essentially a standard AKM profile. Very odd. The bipod we'll talk more about in a minute. The hand guards are standard AKM with the palm swell. And the only other real RPK feature is this here buttstock, which of course these came in with thumbhole stocks. Century added this stock along with the US pistol grip and US fire control group, which is a Tapco back then, and a US gas piston. So not a lot in common with the AES10B. What about with our Wasser? Well, aside from different receiver markings, the receivers themselves are the same. Same rivet pattern, same front trunnion. No real difference there. And same handguard. The only difference, we have a little bracket tack welded on up here for our carry handle. These take the same handguard. Now, interestingly, the gas system, it's a little different here. If you look at the cutout in the barrel here versus on the Wasser, yeah, it's just different. And of course, our bipod is clamped behind the gas block. Whereas here, of course, it's blank. Bayonet lug on this one. No bayonet lug, because you wouldn't be able to use it anyway. And the barrel profile is the same. It's just this one is extended out about 4, 5, 6 inches. Same basic front sight. No cleaning rod under the barrel, again because of the bipod. One other interesting thing. Here's our Wasser. We have a standard gas block on it, often called a 45 degrees. On the AES10, we have this kind of gas block, often called a 90 degree. And the only other import I can think of that uses this gas block is the SAR-3, the Wasser 3, some of the 223 guns. And the only reason I can think they used it was because of the longer barrel with the much longer dwell time and pressure. It would give a different port diameter, angle, and size. So basically, the AES-10 was a long-barreled Wasser 10 with a bipod and a carry handle and an RPK buttstock. Again, the rear sight was added. It originally had a rear sight just like this one. And it was kind of an odd bird. This wouldn't be the first time we'd have a 20 or 22 inch barreled AKM imported either. China would do some back in the 80s and even in the 90s. From Egypt, we would get the RML and RPM. So this wasn't unheard of. It's actually kind of funny how many foreign factories thought doing a long-barreled AKM would be a good idea. I don't really know. You do have a longer sight radius, but frankly, 760 by 39 is already hitting peak performance at 16 inches. I guess 20 would make it a little bit better, but I can't imagine it would deliver superb accuracy over the standard AKM or Wasser. I just kind of have a Trebuk vibe, the Iraqi VMR. But yeah, just seemed like something kind of fun to show you. And with that, let's talk bipods for a minute. Back when these were being advertised in 2005, keep in mind this was right after the sunset of the assault weapons ban, Century was definitely pushing the RPK angle, including having several photos with the AES-10 complete with drum you could buy for an additional, I don't know, $100. And this bipod is interesting because it mounts back here, not up front as on a standard RPK. And it is, as many correctly point out, a Pkm Bipod. However, it is worth noting, just to be fair, that some early PM64s, military select fire guns, did have Pkm type bipods in Romania. It's also worth pointing out that Bulgaria's RPK, their LMG as they call it, also uses a Pkm bipod variant. And normally this is problematic on an AK because it's a lower setting bipod than a standard RPK, but since it's mounted further back, it actually hoists the barrel up much higher, which actually gives you very good clearance back here. And that does lead to one of the advantages of this gun. With most true RPKs, with the bipod mounted towards the muzzle, even though it's longer, when you put in the 40-round mag, it monopods, as we call it, especially when you're not holding it. But because of how this is set up, one advantage, mag changes are easier, even with 40-rounders. There's still plenty of ground clearance. Notice the classic early Wasser style mag wobble too. It won't affect reliability, but some people didn't like it. Yeah, what can you do? It's a standard Wasser as far as function. I don't really have much to show you here on that end. You know, standard AK action and standard Tapco G2 trigger. Nothing special there. But yeah, so you can easily insert the 40-round mag without any worries there. It's just one of those guns. It is what it is. And it was very quickly replaced by the authentic gun. But I thought you might enjoy seeing one of the weirder, rarer Romanian critters. AES10B, full throttle. Helps if I charge it.
Mm-hmm. You're good.
And here they are together again. So when I got this, because we were just so starved for AKs, I wasn't disappointed. It was a good shooter after all, and it was weird and interesting. I did my best to make it into an RPK. I even bought a smooth, thick top cover and fitted it to it. But it obviously wasn't. So when the AES10Bs came out, I saved up and bought one of those. Originally it was a fixed stalker, and then when the paratroopers came out, I grabbed a paratrooper. And having the AES10B, I sold this to the friend that still has it today. Oh grief, 15 years ago? If not 15, close to it. Because I had the gun about, maybe 2 years. I do remember the first time I shot it, we went and picked it up at the gun shop I visited and eventually worked at. It was snowing that day, so the first time this gun was ever shot in the USA was in snow. That still seems appropriate even today. So it was kind of a fun memory. And it was reliable and fun. Never really felt overgassed or anything to me. These Romanian guns, they work. And just because it's not a military copy of anything in particular, it's still a weird copy, kind of like that Wasser 1063 KR of mine that you've seen. So with that, yeah, I just thought we'd kind of talk about a weird long-barreled Wasser. Why not? Does anyone else out there have an AES10 or did have one at one time? Curious. Let me know in the comments. If so, what do you think about it? Certainly is lighter, I'll give it that. And as always, if you could, please like, share, and subscribe. And if you'd like to help support the channel, please check out the link to our Patreon page. And with that, I'll get the AES10 back to its owner, and I'll catch you very soon next time.